If I drop you immediately into a struggling local newsroom, what would be the first thing that you would fix?
The first thing, implement an agent that detects local signals to community needs, drops stories and flags what's urgent.
I'm speaking with Markus Franz, CTO at Ippen Media, Germany's largest local journalism network. For over a decade, he's been building AI into newsroom, and he's asking the question that will define its future. It's the article, the way we have it today, dying.
The information lives on, right? Yeah, but it flows into new formats. It's called elastic content. One core piece of journalism stretches into a voice message, a carousel, bullet points, wherever the audience is.
How do I know if you're not just an AI agent sent back in time to save journalism?
Maybe I am. Who knows?
Markus, you and me met a couple of times in different events, and I keep on having to ask myself, how do I know if you're not just an AI agent, AI sort of robot sent back in time to save journalism? Because this is a topic that we're going to be talking about. So can you make sure that this is the real you?
Nice opener. Nice question. Maybe I am. Who knows? No, but seriously, I'm just working in this kind of areas, and we have a long, we met sometimes, and I can remember where I was with this exocortex thing on this presentation. Yeah, so I'm real.
That's good to hear, because this was the memory I remember, because I remember you were presenting and you had like this Android arm, because I think you hurt your arm. And I think I asked you at the time, I'm sure you're not the Android or something like that. No, I'm 100% human. But
yeah, the funny thing on that is, even, I don't know when it was, so 5?
It was in my event in Copenhagen in 20, I think it was before COVID.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and the funny thing is, because I'm talked at that stage, about agents. So, and the thing was this multi-arm bandit agent. So agents and data and stuff like that, personalization, joins my journey for a long time.
I think so, and I remember your quote there, and you basically played on a little bit of the theme there, but the data is our superpower, I think was one of the quotes that you said there. And because I'm really keen to sort of talk about today, one of the topics is AI, which I know is a huge area that you're focusing on. But then let's go a little bit back. How did sort of a tech guy like you said end up working in journalism? Was there sort of like this moment where this is my thing? Take us and the listeners a little bit to who you are and your background.
Well, yeah, to be honest, so I never planned to work in media. So maybe it's, which is exactly why I'm here. So maybe, but on the other side, so I'm a tech person, right? And I really love difficult problems. And even in the past, I see that journalism is about handling a lot of information, right? And what drives me is information retrieval systems, how you collect, organize, analyze a lot of information at the end of the day. And journalism, even in the past, is one of the hardest, but in my opinion, the most meaningful challenges of our time. Economically, socially, and also technologically. Yeah, so, and at Ippen Media, we built that for a long of time. We built our own platform ecosystem, and we built for local relevance, speed and substance. So it's a difficult problem, and it's not getting easier in my point of view. But this is why I'm here and why I'm so long in that industry.
For how long have you been with Ippen Media?
Oh yeah, so it's about 16 years.
That's a very loyal and a very long time. So that's very good to hear. And Markus, we are going to be talking about AI, but also keeping it to the human aspect. And I think that sort of my first exposure with sort of, if we say early days AI, was Clippy, if you remember from Microsoft.
Yeah.
That sort of every time you were to write dear, it would say, "Are you trying to write a letter?" And it was more annoying than smart. But then, can you just one of the terms that's very much talked about, and I know you write a lot about and work a lot about, is AI agent. Can you just tell everybody of listening what it actually means in sort of like normal words?
Yeah, it's a difficult question because agents are everywhere and everyone is explaining, interpreting that a little bit different. But in plain, simple words, I would say, think of it as a quiet college, yeah, who listens and remembers. For example, does the research for you, finds connections, and helps you write, decide, or act. So it's not anymore this kind of chatbot. Yeah, it's more like a working mode. And regarding to Clippy, Clippy was cute but clueless, right? So I mean, agents today can learn from you, talk back to you, help you improve ideas, yeah, and even push you when you're missing something.
I think we have to say rest in peace, Clippy, for the work it Dad did early on. But I think there is something there is that you sort of had to very much command Clippy, and there wasn't a lot of possibilities. But now with AI agents, it gives a whole different rooms. But then I've done a little bit of research before this podcast, and one of the things I've seen you write about, especially on LinkedIn, is that you said that the future has no buttons. We sort of just speak. What does that sort of mean and look like in a newsroom when you sort of say the future has no buttons?
Yeah, the thing is, and I'm bullish about voice AI, I would say, yeah, because of more aspects. So the thing is, with voice, yeah, and look, we are talking about large language model. Yeah, they're working with language, and what is our most intuitive language is voice. Yeah, not typing something, just saying it. And that's pretty cool in my point of view. And why did I say the future has no buttons? Yeah, but does it look like in a newsroom? Imagine that if you walk into your room and say, "Hey, what's up?" In my city council, and the system responds per voice, yeah, with context, clips, summaries, next steps. I mean, it's a little bit about voice in, knowledge out. Yeah, and this is voice in, knowledge out. It's for me, that's is when I explain AI, AI stands for me for ambient intelligence. You know, if the technology is around you, surrounds you, and is always there, yeah. Yeah, like at the beginning, it's some kind of invisible exoskeleton, yeah. And the thing is, how I interpret agent and voice agent is, you do the thinking and the agent does the lifting. So
It's sort of, it sounds for me almost like it allows for you to tailor how you consume your information in the way that you like. And one of the last podcast I had was with Anne Jack, and she talks about like she has only 24 hours during a day, and like maybe it's just how you consume news is done for her to listen 30 minutes on the radio in the morning. But I guess this allows for a way to sort of get your information in a way that's convenient for you in the only 24 hours you have. It almost sounds like.
yeah, absolutely. So it's about context. Yeah, it's about that the information. I mean, information is everywhere. Yeah, but we don't have the cognitive capacity to use that kind of information overload, I would say. So we are producing a lot of information, and if it's there, if you need it, yeah, in the format, what fits to your context, this is the direction to go in my point of view.
There's been so much focus, I would say, for the last 2 years in terms of implementing AI in the newsroom, different tools that enables the journalist to, for example, the most boring job, putting in tags for the articles, recommendation for headlines and so on. But then I sort of ask my question sometimes is, would you, from your experience, say that journalists will work with AI or through it? And what I mean by that is more like, is it dare to sort of give them sort of suggestion, or will this override that? Sort of like, what's your experience in terms of like journalists adapting it, using it, and so on?
Yeah. Like we humans do the things with new technologies. So there is always the critical minds. Yeah, what's absolutely uh, fair is and good is because they ask the right question about how we work. Yeah, if we talk about the working mode with AI in the future, and yeah, it's always the same stuff with new technology. So you have this kind of nerds, I would say, or growth mindset, people who trying things out, yeah, and see what is possible, what is not possible, what is feasible at the moment. But for me, AI is like electricity, right? So it's just there. Yeah, you can use it, yeah, but you don't have to use it. But you mentioned that before in your question is we're using AI, yeah, everywhere. It's this called good old, yeah, fashioned machine learning, yeah, where you have this kind of recommendation and stuff, and that supports us. Also, I see AI just as a technology. So look, there's this nice quote. Yeah, software is eating the world. So every process is what we are doing depends on mostly on software. Yeah, and the thing is, AI is generating software. So AI is eating software, and software is eating the world. So it will be there. So, and it's up to us in which kind of direction we are pushing or using this kind of technology. But to be clear about that, it's just technology. It's just software.
I completely agree, and it's software and technology. But on that point, working with sort of the AI in the newsroom, implementing, is there something that these AI tools can already do that sort of even surprised you in terms of how far it come?
Yeah, absolutely. So, the main thing is that even in the newsroom, we are doing a lot of experiments. So simple, I would say simple experiments, how to write a better headline, yeah, or how to write headlines for different audiences, yeah, or can you check the spelling and so on and so on. But with this is, look, let me explain that a little bit different. So I have this is even good to understand how I see the world of agents. So we all started with I call it the co-pilot phase, yeah, where everyone is trying at home or even at work a little bit with the kind of Anthropic, ChatGPT, and so on. It's just like a co-pilot where you ask something, get something back. If you're doing that more and more in the business domain, in your work, yeah, it's like a co-worker, yeah. But the thing is that we are getting to the next evolution phases, I would say. So the next thing is it's more like an assistant, yeah, that you can say, hey, can you research that for me, or can you analyze my KPIs for subscription, or how is my traffic going on with my article? So the heavy lifting, yeah, the understanding and so on will do your assistance, and we are going further in a direction more like a concierge, yeah, who thinks for you, yeah, and brings you the right information at the right time to your table, yeah, whatever your table right now is. It may be a mobile phone, desktop application, or even voice. So this is how I see how we are getting more and more to this new agentic world.
You sort of answer already in my next question. This is like one of the interesting things. Is sort of, I imagine myself sort of being a local journalist, and what sort of AI agent can help me with today. And one of the stories I heard previously on the podcast was with the Lars Adrian Giske at Tromsø, which is a local newspaper all the way up in north, and how they built a AI tool called Gin, which basically scrapes municipality documents, which is such a time-consuming thing to go through the documents of new buildings. But this fast-forwarded. But then, what would you say is some of the areas where AI in the workflows the journalists are doing today really sort of helps them create better content, get research done quicker? What are sort of the areas, if I'm a local journalist, where it will help me the most, and what you see in Ippen?
Yeah, you said one of the aspects, what I see clearly. So it's kind of second eyes or second assistance capability that you're scraping. Yeah, the council news, that you will make a video and transcribe that and get the most important information out there. So this is one aspect where there's kind of heavy lifting or time consuming. Yeah, I mean, it's time consuming, right? Where AI or agents can support you. Yeah. But if you think a little bit more in the direction how we should or can evolve formats, right? Even these kind of agents can help you to create, I don't know, a video, voice. So there's this cool quote, because we're talking about large language models. So, and prompting is one of the most important building blocks up there. And this quote, and I love it. Yeah. If anything becomes everything, look, you text to video analyzes, text to video, text to voice, text to images. And that's pretty interesting to gives us, I would say, superpowers to evolve our formats, I would say, yeah.
And let's stick on this part, because one of the things that we constantly hear at the different events in the industry is currently in terms of the attention spans of younger generation. They have shorter attention spans. And I even heard the quote here that is the article the way we have it today, dying? And this brings sort of to sort of the format and sort of what you talked about. I think if you have the article, what sort of replaces sort of the article as we know it today? Different ways of then consuming it, but you surely must have thought in terms of where formats is going in the news world.
Yeah, and then this is where I see. I mean, we are talking about Gen AI right now, mostly, right? Generative AI. And if what I wanna say about the quote that the article format is dying means that the information lives on, right? Yeah, but it flows into new formats. Yeah, and this is what we're talking about in different conferences. It's called so elastic content. Yeah, and elastic content means one core piece of journalism that, for example, stretches into a voice message, a carousel, a reel, a map, bullet points, wherever the audience is. So it's this kind of fluid, I would say fluid, elastic content. Yeah. And this is, but you need always the main information, right? So I would call it the mother information, yeah. But with the help of AI, with the help of agents, you can transform that mother informations in different formats, yeah. So formats becomes fluid, yeah. That means, for example, so if someone wants 5 bullets at 6 a.m., yeah, and other audiences want, for example, an audio rap at 5 p.m., yeah, and our job is to adapt to that, yeah, to adapt to that kind of user needs, user behavior, and that is not so complicated at all right now.
When you said it, Markus, it struck in my head because I wanted to ask this, but then sort of one thing that I think the newsroom really adapted sort of the last 2-3 years are user needs as one of the really big pillars in terms of understanding how do I serve the content for a need of my readers. And the editorial team's been becoming really good about the next phase of this is also how can we give the format in the way that supports the user needs. And this is also where I guess what you said here, how do we understand if I'm on the way 4 o'clock on the bus to home, maybe getting this sort of read to me or in a podcast format and so on. That's maybe where we see the format. I mean, journalism is going to be journalism, but it's different ways of how it's going to be given to the readers.
Yeah, absolutely. But this it is our job, yeah, as a translator, yeah, to provide our audiences the information, yeah. And what's new is the possibility that we can have this mother information, this local information, for example, in the different format what the user or the users or user segments needs, and this is where we are transforming journalism in a natural way, I would say, yeah, because the habits that there are new studies out there that younger people not reading your homepage, your classical article detail page, they are more on social and so on. And this is just, for me, it's just a natural evolution of journalism with the help of software or AI or agents, just software, to address that user needs.
If I think one of the interesting things to look at is in terms of that topic. And in Kilkaya, we work heavily on the personalization on the full front page, being able to drive higher relevant content to the readers. And one of the things that sort of strikes me there is in the world of social media, the algorithm just knows me so well in terms of which mood I am, what happened in my life, and it sort of gives me the content that's important for me. But it's sort of a black box. It's also maybe just serve me with things that I want. But I think personalization is such a big topic, really. Personalization covers so many aspects, but then what's important when we then go into this world of where algorithms better know me, but then keeps journalism honest and trustworthy and not letting the AI go completely mayhem, just serving me whatever. How do you keep a healthy balance, you think, in terms of in editorial integrity?
Yeah, good question. But for me, an old question, because you're talking about personalization, you're talking about the fear of the echo chamber, yeah. But that's not a good way for personalization. So, sure, you have to be. I mean, if you're talking about honestly or honest, yeah, radically transparency. So, and I mean, for me, personalization doesn't mean manipulation, yeah. And this is a big win, yeah, as we as journalists, yeah, because we can provide source disclosures, we have editorial standards, yeah, and we have the possibility for AI auditability always, and this is our working modus that we have that for decades, yeah, and transforming that into the new world, yeah. But what is the other side, yeah? If you're not doing that, the other will do that at the end of the day, yeah, and you're losing audiences, yeah, and it's just a channel. So for me, personalization is a little bit like, yeah, a channel, yeah, where you can address your user needs, yeah, and you can always think if you're getting just the things what you wanna read, yeah, it's getting boring. So, and journalists have the possibility, even in the algorithms, yeah, in the recommendation algorithms, to make agenda setting, yeah, or the algorithm should be there are some aspects, what makes a good recommendation algorithm. So serendipity, for example, it's important, yeah, because to give you something new and show recommendation. So to say it in one or two sentences is it's just experimenting, yeah, and see what is your interest, yeah, and what is your interest right now, yeah, because there is this difference between reading habit, yeah, and the other thing, consuming habits. So maybe right now it's summer and you want to have more information about what is the best ways to go out, but you are on the long term interested in politics, yeah, and you're getting both of this at the end of the day. But recommendation is for me recommendation is experimentation, yeah, to see, hey, I provide Nils a new item, maybe about, I don't know, science, yeah, and see if he is right now in the mood to consume that kind of information, yeah, and if you are able or open to, it's good, yeah, because it's about the experience, right? This is what we're always a little bit forgetting when we're talking about the personalization. It's about an durable positive cognitive state, and then a durable positive cognitive state is if you have a good experience, yeah, with different kind of formats, with different kind of articles from different categories. It's all about the user experience.
I think you're spot on, and I think it's a combination of also here what's going on in the world and being able to recommend here different. I have funny enough, a very interesting personalized experience where I've been reading more about. So summer is a wedding season in many times, and there's weddings coming on. And I've been sort of sparring with a friend of mine who's going to be a Toastmaster. So naturally, I've been reading a little bit more about weddings, and all of a sudden, I got an article. Best tips to avoid an uncomfortable situation as a Toastmaster.
Mhm.
And it's just a setting sort of that really gives me sort of like this educate me user needs in many ways in terms of then the personalized, and it understands it. So I think what's happening in the world, but also a combination of things that really tailors to the user needs. But Markus, we sort of talked about tech, but I want to move into sort of like a culture shift. And you said the word I was going to be asking you, because again, I've done some digging here, and I hear you say this more before, is that if we don't do it, someone else will. And I know that's a very favorite sort of slogan for you. And how do you today in Ippen build a team that sort of dares to experiment in that way in terms of that slogan? If we don't do it, someone else will.
Yeah. So one of the most important things working with AI or getting better results with AI means that you are rewarding experiments, right? So, and this is the cultural, I would say, yeah, DNA of this team, yeah, that we reward experiments, not just results, yeah. Because a failure is fine. It's a new technology. There are no possibilities, but failure is fine. Stagnation isn't. So, and this is the most important word. So, stagnation isn't. So, we have to experiment. We have to see, okay, what is feasible? What is ethically okay to work that? And I build teams for longer times with that kind of mindset, with that kind of growth mindset, growth engineering mindset. And I build teams around ownership, yeah, speed, curiosity. Yeah, it's not about titles, yeah, and this is this kind of new, I would say, yeah, DNA mindset, what you should have, especially when you work with agents and AI. You should have a yeah, curiosity. You should be curiosity about that.
You built your own lab
Yeah.
inside Ippen Media. What is a lab, and why did you build one?
years I dreamed about that lab with Jan. Jan is the CEO from Ippen Media for years. Yeah, because if you are growing as a company, yeah, you need different processes. Yeah, you have a lot of more meetings and more paperwork to align everyone. So there are concepts about OKRs and so on. But at the end of the day, it's always alignment. Yeah. And with more humans, I would say, yeah, you need more time for alignment. And so if a company grows, it's more like a tanker. Yeah. And then he's driving in this direction. And what we need, especially in this is wild west AI world, yeah, where every week something new is happening. We need a speedboat. Yeah, and this is the lab. So the lab is our speedboat. Yeah, it is fast, flexible, sometimes a little bit crazy. If you read my articles, sometimes is a little bit crazy. But the benefit is what we have as a lab is that we are free from, and this is not a bad word, but we are free from legacy systems, right? And we are trying to be focused, laser focused, and for real editorial impact. But we have to experiment with that kind of technologies to inform, our tanker. Hey, whoa, this looks like a good direction, or hey, we made an experiment with that kind of technology or with that kind of model, and right now it's not feasible to give them a direction, I would say. Yeah.
Take me through sort of one project that you guys done in the lab team to understand sort of like how you work. Does it come from like an idea that you want to do? And you had the famous slogan like fail fast and then sort of move on. But like, can you give me like an example of like from idea to how you guys go on and like speed of how you're operating?
Yeah, so it's a sophisticated process behind. Yeah, maybe I write something about that.
Or you could tell it here on the podcast first.
Yeah, absolutely. So one thing is how I think, or how we as a lab think is always think big, right? It's not about hey, what is the best algorithm to write a better headline? That's cool. Yeah, it's necessary in some areas, but the mantra, what you're saying is, so it's always think big. Yeah, start small, move fast. Yeah, and learning on the journey, what direction it is. And as a lab, so a lot of ideas coming maybe from Jan, yeah, maybe from my side, maybe from the team side, maybe from the industry side, yeah, because there is a new technology, there's a new model, there's a new framework, and trying to fit that kind of ideas, yeah, into a manageable, feasible prototypes. Yeah, this is the way we are working. So, so for 8 years or so, I say to teams, hey, let us build this minimal viable product. Yeah. So, and the next year or the next wording was, hey, we are proud of it. Yeah. Even if it's a minimal viable product, it's a minimal lovable product, and so on and so on. But with AI, we have a new challenge. It's that I would say it's called minimal valuable experience. So, and then this is what we are building. So we are building prototypes, working prototypes, always working prototypes, to learn a lot about the framework technology idea, and give their minimal valuable experience, to the mothership, to the tanker. Yeah. So we are speeding up the learning process at the end of the day.
Would you say that's one of the biggest things that you would measure on the learnings you do? And just on that, because I listened into, I think it was a podcast with the CEO of Snapchat, and they sort of, I think he said that 90% of the ideas that they go on with, they scrape, and only 10 survive. Sort of, is the main KPI for you guys learning? And I'm also keen on what's the percentage of ideas being scraped versus what you go live with?
Yeah, but this is nothing new for me. Yeah, because what you're talking about is for me is and done that for years. It's about classical product development, right? So and my mindset about that, even in the old good machine learning area, yeah, it's always about that, yeah. So if you're doing an experiment, so we are highly experiment driven in that company, and it's a success, yeah, yeah, but it's a failure, it's a learning. So I didn't like the word failure because it's a learning, yeah. And with that kind of learning, you can improve your strategy, yeah. But if you don't learn, yeah, you don't have the, I would say, the KPIs, the information, the data, the data to improve your products. So it's about learning. Yeah, it's always about learning. And to be honest, everyone from us is right now learning. Oh, look, there's this no new prompt. What you should ask, think step by step, for example, if it's more chain of thought. And this is what we learning together and speed up. But this is culture is about mindset. Yeah. It is an experimentation mindset, what you need in this kind of days, more than ever, I would say.
I love that. For people who knows me, and I sort of done it on the podcast before, is to quote Pitbull, Mr. 305, and it's never a failure. It's always a learning, and you
Yeah.
keep on growing. And I think if you can instill that into the team of working, you will also have better success. And now you sort of talked to in the lab, so you've gone from idea phase, you've done the prototyping, you sort of learned there, and you were to move into adapting this into the journalist team. How do you do that? Are like the journalists excited? Are they scared? How do you go in terms of the process getting like a bigger implementation across the brands in Ippen?
Yeah. So this is not our job. So this is where we say, hey, okay, cool. We've done with this experiment or product or prototype. And we have a fantastic AI team. So the AI team is bigger. They have more human resources to adapt that kind of ideas and learnings and inform and educate. It's always about inform and educate, and inform and educate the editors. Yeah, and they are doing the rest of the journey. Yeah, to bring that kind of idea, process, technology into the tanker. Yeah, so we have a wonderful AI team who is working more closely, yeah, to the editors than the lab. So because it is indeed that we are a small team, yeah. Because we don't want to be a lab tanker at the end of the day. We want to be a lab speedboat. And this is quite good that we have the possibility with the AI team in Ippen Media, and they do that inform and educating way on a broader scale.
Should every company like that we would define almost like a tanker have a labs team?
Yeah, for sure. And a lot of companies are doing that. This is not a new approach, to be honest. So in a corporate, if you can afford it, yeah, you should have a team who's not thinking every day about the legacy structure, legacy systems, legacy technologies, and so on, to be free to radically experiment, I would say. Yeah. It's a good idea to have that. Yeah. The better idea is that every team is kind of a lab, but it's not possible in a broader corporate environment. But it's a good idea to have that, and it's a privilege to have that kind of a lab.
I have one more question on it. I'm super curious. Like, when you pick out that team, what sort of personal traits are you looking for in the people that works in that team and makes that a success?
Yeah, that it's simple. Yeah, I cannot explain in simple words, but for me is always because I'm a design thinking guy. I'm a machine learning guy. I'm a technology guy. I try to understand systems, right? And for me, curiosity is one of the most important skills what you should bring in to the lab. And you should always have this kind of growth mindset. Yeah. Because what we discussed about is, hey, come on, if you're doing experiments, yeah, with new technology, it's always hard, yeah, because it's a new technology. There's not so much learnings out there, etc. But if you don't fail, yeah, it is. If you don't doing experiments, if you don't have this growth mindset, oh, yeah, I want to understand that kind of difficult topic, it's stagnation. Yeah, and stagnation is not the way for publishing.
I think I often use the analogy in terms of both life, both business, or what you're talking about is almost like a game of poker. Because if you're the guy who keeps on folding every single round, even though you have a good stack up, you lose in the end.
Yeah.
I think it's risk awareness as well, and on being able to take risk and going for those bets and then being calculated, and it makes sense. And Markus, I want to sort of try something different in the podcast, and I thought you would be the perfect guinea pig to test it out on. And then it's sort of like creativity. Yeah, it is an experiment, and there's a allow for sort of taking different ways here. But then I sort of want to sort of like let's dream for a second, paint the picture. And I know you have sort of like different things on it. And let me paint you a picture. It's sort of imagine if I give you a laptop, a Wi-Fi connection, and I drop you immediately into a struggling local newsroom. What would be the first thing that you would want to build or fix?
Yeah. That's good. A good question, by the way. Yeah. Let me think about it. Yeah. I would do the first thing what I want to implement is an agent. Yeah, an agent that detects local signals. Yeah. Map them to community needs. Yeah. And drafts stories and flags what's urgent. Yeah, so it becomes your co-assistance for relevance. Yeah, this is what I want to do. Yeah, in that kind of experiment.
And if you were to sort of look into the future and a different sort of paint me the scene, what do you think like a typical newsroom, maybe an Ippen or a bigger group, it would look like in 2035? What's similar to what we have today? What's different?
Ooh, 2035. Yeah, who? Yeah, so it's hard to say that because the adaptation of machine learning models is so fast. So imagine what happens for 2 years. So it was a ChatGPT 2.0. Yeah. But on a dreaming side, I would say a newsroom in 2035, what does it look like? No desks. Yeah. For me, it's a space with screens, yeah, for sure, but absolutely voice interfaces and agents listening in. Yeah. For example, you speak, they summarize, they just suggest, you decide. Yeah. And you as a journalist, yeah, I would say you're becoming a navigator. Yeah, not just a typist.
What would you think here on third one? And this is sort of on my mind these days. If you were to put in a AI recommendation model with no sort of curation of the editorial team or anything, and it would run wild on the front page for a newspaper for a day, what would it do really well, and what would it do horribly wrong?
Yeah. So what goes right and what goes wrong, I would say, and there's a lot of experiments, and even you know that, yeah. Right, super relevant, hyper personal, always updated information, yeah. Based on your consuming behavior, reading behavior, based on your habit. Wrong, yeah. I would say it may miss nuance, yeah. So one of the things right now and even in the future is context matters. Yeah. For example, like knowing where whether a traffic jam or a policy leak is more important today. So, yeah, I would say this is these two aspects.
I like this new format, actually, sort of painting the scene. You did a brilliant job, sort of like giving the view on it, and I think this is maybe a way that I'm going to
They're
incorporate
always
into the
experimenting
podcast.
with me.
Yeah, but I am. I have to use it when I have the opportunity.
Yeah,
But
absolutely. Love it.
let's get to sort of also here. I mean, a thing that you said is sort of like people, not just tech in this case, and kind of your perspective. Like if I'm a journalist today, either I've been in the game for a long time, I'm a journalist starting. Like, what's one skill that's still gonna matter in 10 years' time?
Yeah. Good question. Yeah, so I would say curiosity for sure, as a curiosity period, and context. Yeah, and one thing is the ability to talk to systems, not just people, and also a strong voice. Right, a good journalist always have a strong voice, and this strong voice, curiosity, context. Yeah, that's still your superpower.
How do you, on that topic, how do you think that tech helps more voices be heard for especially in like local communities? How does that help?
um, by surfacing topics that made the big media miss. Yeah. And even for local journalism, by giving small communities tools to speak. Yeah. By making, and this is a big challenge what we are facing in the industry, by making local journalism faster, cheaper, and more accessible. Yeah.
This is sort of like a little bit of a view that I've seen, and this might be my personal opinion, but I'll try to say it in a way that sort of, in terms of how I think. I've been in the software space the majority of the time. I've been sort of working in the industry, and I very often see, for example, slogans, especially on tech providers, software for journalists. In many ways. And you talked here, for example, also in the lab team here, you sort of, I asked you the question, how do you implement this for your journalists? Isn't that really sort of like a wrong way of thinking? Shouldn't we rather, how do we build tools for the audience that we're serving? Isn't it the audience the most important aspect of everything that we need to develop?
Yeah, absolutely right. So it's not about the technology. Yeah, it's not about the people working with the technology. It's always for the audience, and this is how we are thinking. Yeah, it's always for the audience, and this is what I mean. Journalists, for me, are translators, right? And the real goal is to serve the public. Yeah, and with AI. Yeah, or soft AI-driven software for journalists, for example. The real goal is with this kind of technology is to serve the public better, faster, and smarter. Yeah.
I'm gonna try again, Markus, on a new setup for the podcast. I'm not letting you off the hook now, but I'm trying something that I like to call now rapid fire, where I'm gonna do a couple of fast ones now in the end. And this is basically quick questions. It can be one answer, but feel free to sort of elaborate. But then
Get
my
I
first
get
one is.
points if it's right?
Yeah. Let's see. But what's one tool you love right now that you can't sort of live without?
Voice AI.
Why?
Because it's the direct best way to work with large language models.
And what's the most overhyped buzzword in AI right now?
Yeah, AGI. Not relevant yet. Yeah, we are going to that. Maybe 2, 5, 10 years, depending how the ecosystem evolves. But right now, AGI.
Who's one person in media or in industry that inspires you?
One person, yeah, Jeff Jarvis.
Why?
Yeah, Jeff Jarvis and also Jan Ippen, I would say. Yeah, because they are bold, radical, and honest. Yeah. And having a strong voice and giving a direction. Yeah.
You said the honest there. Do you think there's a little bit too much BS and not honesty in the industry?
I don't would say that, yeah, but if so, let me explain that. So the journey to technology, the journey even in the past. So I built a lot of systems, real-time recommendation, analytics platforms, and so on. Yeah, it's not an easy way. Yeah, if you start with that kind of technology, and Jan Ippen, a lot of people out there have ideas for sure. Yeah, but he has the power to execute that idea, even if it takes 6 months or 12 months. And this is the way to go. So, yeah, and this is why, for example, Jan Ippen inspires me, because we can go this way, and it's not an easy way. Yeah. And to be honest, to say, yeah, this technology is not working, or this approach, it's not working, because at the end of the day, it's a loop for me, yeah, and everything goes to an experiment. For me, is everything an experiment? Yeah, not only today, the questions and the cast format. For me, everything is an experiment. Yeah, if you're system thinking or system thinking mindset, you wanna build big systems, human technology, how they work together, and social technology systems is the way to go. Yeah.
Are you an early bird or you're a night owl?
Both, but I would say early bird with a reboot at 6.
If you could, and this is the last one, if you could describe the future of journalism in one word, what would it be?
Context.
Elaborate, please.
Giving your audiences the right context. Yeah. It's not about that you be the best writer, because an LLM can support you and write better. But you are a translator for communities. Yeah. And you're giving the communities context. Yeah. To serve the public better. So context, I would say context.
And I like this format, and I'm going to see how I incorporate this in. And I would just sort of like a wrap up of this sort of conversation is that I'm sort of, I have lots of learnings from this conversation. I think this has been great. Like, if you could leave journalists and maybe media executives, people in this industry, with one sort of message about AI, what would it be in terms of the learnings you've done and sort of what you're doing in Ippen today?
Oh, and one message?
You can do one message and elaborate.
Yeah.
Up to you.
I would say AI doesn't have the answers, right? But it helps you ask better questions, and it helps you use it to stay relevant. Yeah. Don't wait. Don't wait. This is your moment.
I absolutely love that. Markus, we have a closing tradition in this podcast where the previous guest gets to leave a question for the next guest. The previous guest I had was Anjak, who's then the country lead of WPP in Norway, where we talked about advertising, how that's changing, how the spend is then distributed today in a world where we have big tech and publishers. How do publishers stay more relevant? And she had a she told openly she doesn't really consume news that much. She simply doesn't have the time during the 24 hours, and she says she's more like a social media junkie, and then sort of takes in that because it knows her too well. But she had a question which is also very linked to sort of what we do in Kilkaya in terms of personalization, and her question is, do we really think that the way of promoting content on the homepage is going to be sort of manually curated? And why wouldn't it take on the approach of social media in terms of being relevant? And does it going to have the head title? Is it going to be the same way? How does that look like in the future, and how you think, Markus?
Oh, this is a good question. Yeah.
It is a good one.
Yeah, for me, it's not about elastic or fluid content, because this is done by some kind of publishers, right? You have your social team, get you an article, then making some kind of social media information out there. For me, the future is, and I say it, yeah, it's adaptive content, right? content that you will consume, for example, on social media, or content that you will consume on your homepage or on the article detail page. But to have an adaptive content means that you're getting the KPIs, back into the content, and the agent is performing, analyzing, making it better, helps that your content grows with your audience. That's absolutely, for me, the future. It's not about the format, if it's social or homepage or whatever. It's formatless, but it should be adaptive, that you're having this kind of 24 feedback loop into your content for your audiences. For example, you said about that, hey, with this wedding thing and toasts. Right now you are in the state because everything, in my point of view, is like a state machine. And right now you are in the user need, educate me, right? But after that state, you're transforming, for example, to surprise me, and so on. And this is, for me, adaptive content. It's more like a Markov chain, and everyone, humans and AI, is working to serve our audiences better.
And I think this might be the next stage of sort of how we work with user needs, being able to do exactly that, and then the improvement of that. And Markus, I just have to say, I really, really appreciate you taking time to do this podcast and some of the things that you're learning of the lab, how you think about AI. You've been in the game for a long time, and I really enjoyed the talks that we have in terms of it is tech we work with, but sort of like the human and the people sort of are the same. But then, Markus, you have the opportunity here in the podcast to also leave a question that you have burning inside for the next guest, and even maybe the listeners here might have wanting to answer it. Do you have like a burning question that you want me to leave for the next guest coming on?
Let me think about it a little bit.
Take your time.
I would say, hey, what's ambient intelligence for you, or for your newsroom? And how does it fit with this kind of AI agents world into your strategy?
I will make sure to bring that forward. And also for the listeners, I want to say that you can also, by listening to this, I think also Markus is open for this. If this is a question that you think you would like to answer, contact. I know Markus is on LinkedIn and other places, so this is maybe a good one to also be engaged into the content. Markus, I just want to say thank you so much for doing this, and you're a top guy. And I was going to be saying on the question, you inspire me. You're definitely one of the people who inspires me in the industry, and I think the things that you share on AI agents, I learn a lot for it. So I recommend people also to follow Markus on LinkedIn, because he's putting out a lot of good content there. So thank you so much for doing this.
Nils, thank you so much for having me, and I like this experiment.